Hello, dear tea friends around the world, and welcome to a new class with me, Stefan Aller from Tea Masters. And today we are going to talk about a new, a bit difficult subject of tea and beauty. Now, it's a bit like last week's subject, tea and Zen. This one is a bit more philosophical, but I'll try to make it more not too boring, a bit practical also, because we're going to link it not just with tea, but also with tea cups, and see the beauty in teacups. Now, thank you for joining my channel, and so hello to all my viewers in North America, Canada, the US, maybe even Mexico, California, Hawaii. It's still a decent time, I guess. In Europe, you will see me in replay. And today I'm also going to make a good tea. And since the subject is about beauty, I thought, of course, we need a tea of beauty, and the most appropriate tea, of course, is Oriental Beauty. And I'm excited because it's a tea that I selected just 2 days ago, this year's Summer Oriental Beauty. So it's going to be, I've already shown it on the selection, but it's going to be one of the first time I'm going to brew it with a bit more calm, not just to make pictures. Okay, now beauty. Before we speak about tea and beauty, first a few words about beauty. So you see, I've tried to make myself a bit more beautiful and resonate the colors of the flowers with my tie. Now, the beauty already raises a question: why is there beauty in the world? The world could be gray, dark, chaotic. It could be completely dirty and make no sense. Why is there beauty in the world? So beauty already raises a kind of metaphysical question of its existence. For some, the presence of beauty is maybe the strongest proof of that there is something higher than us that has a sense of that there's a spiritual sense, and that life really has a meaning because beauty exists in this life. We are also in the 21st century at a time when religions have been a bit overcome by science. Science can prove a lot of things, and as Nietzsche said, God is dead. So what is left to us now that people don't go too much to church to pray? Well, for Yanagi, so Yanagi, I'm using a lot of his book today for this lesson. So The Unknown Craftsman, a very good book, a Japanese insight into beauty. Now, he actually advocates beauty as a new religion, and says that a bit like Dostoievski in The Idiot, beauty will save the world. So beauty is the one thing that can bind all humankind together. Everybody, no matter your cultural background, your religious background, if you believe or you don't believe, you can be touched by beauty. And this is one great reason why we should produce beauty in our daily work and in our environment, because it's something that moves us and that can be shared across borders, across cultures. If somebody is human, he will be touched by beauty. So yes, I do think that Yanagi is kind of right in this, that beauty is kind of a new religion. Now, how do we see beauty? How do we define beauty? Now, also on this part, Yanagi has some answers. He distinguishes between knowing beauty and seeing beauty. For him, actually, it makes much more sense to see, to recognize beauty with one's senses and heart, and directly without overthinking it. If you start to explain with words what is beauty, it's going to it's never going to be as beautiful as the experience itself, and it will only be words. So to explain beauty is always to reduce it, and so before we try to explain beauty, he recommends something very Zen-like: to void your heart, your spirit, and try not to think, try not to judge, just look. And do you see, do you feel it? For him, it's not so important to be an art critic and to know all the history of art. It's much more important to be able to recognize beauty kind of almost intuitively. So yeah, we're still trying to make some, and then of course we still want to build up on what is beauty. So even though we said we don't want to try to explain too much what is beauty, let's still go more in detail about if we were to make sense of what is beauty. Now, before, actually in my introduction, actually the idea of about beauty, that it's so beautiful that there is beauty instead of nothing, or instead of chaos, actually it comes from a book from François Cheng, 5 meditations about beauty, 5 méditations sur la beauté. So here we made the opposition beauty to chaos. So in a sense, what can define beauty is a sense of order. We are bringing first an order in this world. So and to find, or that we see order in the world, like some flowers are very symmetrical. Now this one is not so symmetrical, but it has very beautiful colors. Actually, it is symmetrical when you look at it in the middle. It's like a mirror image of itself, and so symmetry, something that brings order in versus chaos, is already a first step, a part of beauty. So chaos is not, but so therefore what is not chaos, what is organized, what is kind of a pattern. Yanagi likes to use the word pattern. Now, what is a pattern? A pattern for him is to find, so it's always a bit symmetrical, a pattern, and it's a way of finding the essence of nature. That's what a pattern is, and a pattern so is not simply taking nature, but finding in the nature what is the essence of that nature. Now let's quickly take now the cup, the first start. Now the very first cups and bowls. Now like this in the Song Dynasty, it's very obvious. This is like a Jenyang bowl used for the Song Dynasty mocha, green tea powder whisking, and then put on this chateau. And like this, it's really huge and beautiful. And the idea now, like this, we can see that it looks actually like a flower, symmetrical, round, with the petals and the center of the flower. So the very first pattern for the bowls come from nature, come from these round flowers. And sometimes we even have indentations on the chateau to make it even more look like petals. Okay, but it's a simplified way of making a flower. So it's not exactly, I cannot say, oh, this is a lily flower or whatever flower that is. It is a simplified, patternized flower where we only keep the essence of the flower, something round with something with petals around and it's patternized. So these petals don't even need to have these indentations anymore. Now, okay, that's exhibit number 1. We can see that the same shape or the same idea has been kept in this Yuan Dynasty replica of now a cup. So the shape has come down from in time from the Song Dynasty to the Yuan Dynasty and now to today. Okay, so where was I? Beauty and patterns. So beauty happens when there is a pattern, and a pattern is about symmetry. And another reason patterns and symmetry apply to us and make us feel something beautiful is also the way our brain is wired. From million years, our ancestors, when they were in nature trying to survive under very difficult circumstances, gathering, hunting, especially hunting animals or fighting against different tribes, they had to make very quick split-second decisions about what is friendly and what is foe. So very quickly they had to recognize a situation, face an animal. Is it friendly or is it aggressive and trying to kill you? So usually when you have in front of you somebody who wants to kill you, he's going there. But if you have somebody who is friendly, his face will be much more sunny and symmetrical. Contrast it with something aggressive and something friendly. Here already you have a different expression in the face, and also on animals. Also you see a peaceful dog has a very different face expression than when it's angry. And our brain has learned to recognize these patterns of these face patterns very quickly. So we prefer when a face is laughing, has symmetrical expressions, points to the eye, or is placid, whether when it is asymmetrical and threatening. Another thing where we find beauty and we find comfort is looking at some things that are that have balance. If you look at me like this, you feel comfortable. If I were to speak like this all the time, you were you would feel a bit uncomfortable. Maybe you would also you would start to move your head to look at me in the same way that I'm displayed now on your screen, because you don't like to see me on one side. So balance is also a sense of beauty that our mind appreciates very naturally. So, and again, balance is also something that is an order and that we can find in nature, but where it takes our eye to see it, and you adjust your eye, you adjust your position to see the things with balance, and where you try to find something that is beautiful. And last but not least, also you have a sense of rhythm. So this is with shapes. Sometimes you can feel a sense of rhythm that is also satisfying to look at. Okay, now another very important aspect of beauty of any item, and especially of teacups, is its use. The central theme really of The Unknown Craftsman is that beauty is not something simply aesthetic, but that the most important, actually, beauty comes from the function, from the use of the item that you have. Now, what is one of the most useful item for drinking tea, of course, is the teacup. If you don't have a teacup, even just have the good thing, actually, this is also the beauty of the Gaiwan, is that it can be used both as a brewing vessel, like a teapot, and as a teacup where you can drink from it. So this is one thing that makes a Gaiwan actually superior to a teapot, because if you have a teapot and no cup, well, hey, good luck to drink. You have to really wait for a long time until the water and the tea cools down in your teapot, and then there are actually some people who drink directly from the teapot, but it's really not very practical. But with Gaiwan, actually, it's possible with only a few leaves to brew your tea and drink it directly from your Gaiwan in just one cup. So we could make even without these cups. So function actually is and use is the number one aspect of an item, and especially a teacup. It comes even before its aesthetics, because even let's imagine something very beautiful, but you never use it, something is missing. So it's not so satisfying as to be able to use a teapot or a teacup. So teacups really are very basic. Number one item we need when we want to taste tea. The other thing that makes them so also interesting, and where we come back a bit to our previous lesson last week about Zen Buddhism, and it's this item actually is useful not so much because of simply its shape, but because of the void it creates. We have seen in the importance of the void to purify your spirit in Zen, but also to purify your mind when you want to look at beauty. But even when you want to use it, it's interesting that the cup can be empty so that you can fill it with tea. If you, what is really important is that this shape creates an empty void here that can be filled with tea. Without this void, the teacup is not useful at all. Yeah. Now, what else? So the use of the cup is number one. The more you can use it, the more useful it is in your life, the more important it will be, and therefore the greater the attachment can become to the teacup. And well, we've seen that with time, this bowl first, people in the Tang Dynasty were drinking in shallow bowls, so that the tea would cool down a bit faster, because they were drinking rather large quantities of green tea, very light in terms of fragrances. So this kind of tea could not be brewed or prepared so concentrated. So it made sense to drink it in larger bowls, but to make them easier to drink, they were more shallow, so that the temperature would cool down a little bit faster. In the Song Dynasty, this shape became a little bit more practical for the whisking, because if it were too shallow, then the when you whisk, the tea would go away from the bowl and splash outside. So the shape changed with the technique, with what was needed for the tea. So there was always an influence of how you use it to make the shape already evolve with its usage. So the shapes, when you look at items from the National Palace Museum, they change from one dynasty to another in parallel with the teas that were brewed. When the tea was mostly green tea, it was more drank in larger bowls, and in the Qing dynasty, when people started to drink oolong, then it was more concentrated, and then the cups became smaller. So the shapes, they go together with the use, and they adapt to the use of the tea that was prepared, or that is prepared nowadays. Okay. Okay, I'm starting to be a bit thirsty. Let's demonstrate a bit how it goes. Let's brew some tea. Okay, it's a bit difficult to get out. Okay, a bit more. Okay. You can see the Oriental Beauty with different colors, white buds. You have some red and brown leaves, some even darker black leaves. I don't see anything green, but so it's really an oolong on the higher end in terms of oxidation level. And so this is really the traditional Oriental beauty from Hsinchu County, made by a Beipu farmer, and roasted, well roasted, so that it will be able to age well, and how you say, the beauty is really within the leaves and not at its surface. It's really something that can withstand time. You don't want beauty to be something that fades away too quickly. The real beauty in things is one that stays. Okay, now this brings me back to a thought also I had about the parallelism between tea and beauty. Like Yanagi said, beauty has to be first experienced. You have to see it to know what is beauty. Now it's a bit similar with tea. We can describe tea with many words, or its appearance now, the smells, the taste later on when I brew it, etc., etc. But all these words cannot replace the experience of the tasting the tea. So, and when you taste the tea, it's try to be in this also in the same state of mind that Yanagi recommends when you want to appreciate beauty. Try not to judge it, simply try to experience it in the manner that we talked last week, a Zen-like manner, by being completely quiet and have a purified heart. Another reason this book about the unknown craftsman is important for us tea people is because now this looks at it from a Japanese perspective. He lived around the middle of the 20th century. So the book was published after the Second World War, but many insights came from before. And so for him, from Yanagi, he bases a lot of his thoughts on the Japanese way of tea and how the Japanese discovered and used the beautiful Chinese wares and the Korean wares in their own tea ceremonies. And for him, tea is actually simply the religion of beauty. Now I want to say it nicely. Okay. Mm. Okay. It's possible to use a little bit less, but well, I also want to show a bit different ways of making it. So again, if tea is a religion of beauty, I'm going to communicate now and experience the beauty. Now, what is really interesting is with tea is that yes, it's an experience, and it's a total experience. Now, the idea with this kind of chashi is to get a total experience for all the senses. The sense of we touched the teaware, the porcelain is very smooth to the touch. We have the smell, already smell the dry leaves. Now the brew is starting to come here. We have the beauty of the colors of the tea, but before that, the arrangement of our chashi, the flowers that remind us of nature in an essential way, in a more symbolic way, and that nature. So these are some petals that fell down. Some flowers that fell down when I opened the bouquet. So they are. Why is life? Why is there beauty in this life? And also, François Cheng also had some meditations about death, and what makes life so beautiful also is that it's going to end. That we only have a certain amount of time on Earth to enjoy this beauty. It's not something we can rest and tomorrow it will still be there. No, one day it will be gone. So we have to nurture this time, and it's more precious because our time is limited on Earth. And so when you're on Earth, you want to make it beautiful every moment, and you start from the smaller aspects of life, because if you're unable to make the small beautiful, how can you make the big beautiful? You have to always start small. Sweet, pure, fruity, with this kind of mysterious aromas from the Oriental beauty that makes it so fascinating tea. And purity. Now, the already in Lu Yu, one of the first criteria that Lu Yu used to compare different bowls was the color of the tea in the bowl. He would say the first quality comes from Yuezhou, the second in Dingzhou, and the third in Wuzhou. Then come etc. etc. And he explains that the Yuezhou bowls are, in his regard, in his opinion, the most beautiful ones, because they enhance the color of the tea in the best way, make it more fresh, make it more clear also. when we look at a teacup, one of the very important way to judge if it's a good teacup or not is how the tea will appear in the cup, how the color appears. Now, there is a big change if the color, so a lighter color also helps you to see better the color of the tea and the transparency of the tea than a dark color, so light color are better. And if it's a high oxidation tea, then I would say that an ivory color will help to make the tea appear even warmer, whereas celadon greener colors tend to favor fresher teas like high mountain oolongs or green teas, because then it enhances the freshness and the greenness of the color, which is the essence again of the tea that you are brewing. In terms of shape, first there's a function of the shape. More open shape will help to reduce the temperature faster than a tall shape. So depending on the weather, you want the tea to remain warmer longer or cool down faster. So that's why in Japan they have these summer bowls and winter bowls. Actually, it's the same thing for cups. You can distinguish between summer, these are more summer cups, and winter cups. Another thing about the shape, what is important is the very, very important actually is on the top, the opening and how the lip will touch the cup. Is the opening more like this or straight up? The feel for the lip will be very different. Now this more open shape has actually becomes even more flatter on top, and it's a place where you can put your lip. And the thinness of the cup gives you a feeling that there's almost no cup, that it's very light, and so this also creates more impression of lightness for the cup, for the tea. So this goes well with this kind of tea where you want to emphasize the purity and the lightness of the taste. Another thing we don't speak so much nowadays because it's for porcelain. For most cups now are made of porcelain. Why? This is first through history we have learned that porcelain is a material that handles the heat the best and also handles the color the best. Color because it's white, and the heat because porcelain is fired at a very high temperature compared, for instance, to glass. Glass does not handle the heat as well as porcelain. Transparency. So using the white material already is part of the beauty of the product, of your item. because the material is linked to the usage. So using in the past pottery to make the Song Dynasty bowl made more sense than using porcelain, because here the earth is we can see high in iron oxides. It's a very dark color, these Shenyang bowls, and this high content of iron makes this clay very, very hot. Then it has a rather thick glaze, and this thickness and the clay together and the shape that is a bit more tall than open. All these three make that the tea remains very, very hot and easier to whisk and to harmonize into one with the water. So it was the most suitable clay and glaze and shape, and that's why this kind of bowls in the Song Dynasty were really the ultimate bowls in terms of use and also in terms of beauty, because since people felt they were so perfect to use, people also loved them. Also they liked the way that created by a hand, they would fit a hand. Now this is a little bit another thing that Yanagi touches on about the beauty, the fact that the most beautiful wares actually come from the Tang and Song Dynasty, and modern wares made by machines, they are all the same. Each cup is the same, and when things are too much the same, it becomes cold, impersonal. They don't have a soul anymore. The beauty of a handmade cup is that there are some little imperfections that give a sense of naturalness to the cup, for instance, here. But this naturalness, these little imperfections, sometimes he criticizes some Japanese makers to make imperfections intentionally. He says this is going too far. You don't need to make imperfections. Naturally, they should just happen during the process. You don't have to make it intentionally that there is imperfection. Like here, naturally, there were some shoyos. The glaze is not completely recovering all the clay. Also, the color variations of has changed. Parts are black, parts are brown, and these variations are always a little bit different all around the bowl. This makes also the this kind of bowl more beautiful than a modern machine-made teacup. Okay. Now this kind of shapes actually, we can say comes from this kind of shape in the past. This is a Qing Dynasty cup, very classic to drink gongfu-cha, and see that on top it has a very similar shape. But when you look at this old cup, you will see that the top is not completely even. It's a little bit uneven. It has been turned on a wheel, and because it was made by man, it's not 100% symmetrical, and but this little asymmetry is still in a normal range. It's not exaggerated, and for Yanagi this is really the ultimate place for beauty, that it is still made by hand, with a few imperfections. Also there are imperfections. I don't know if you see inside the on the glaze there are some black spots, so it's not completely white, and whereas these are completely white. So we should not look at these little imperfections and reject them, but appreciate that they are part of the normal process of making these cups by hand. And these cups, now the shape may not be as dramatic as here, but what is interesting is to see that this shape clearly comes from here. It's inspired from the past, and this is another interesting thing, that beauty is something that we have in heritage from the past, and for the recommendation that Yanagi gives to craftsmen nowadays is to respect the shapes from the past, try to be, because they are universal. And the people who made these such bowls during the Song Dynasty that are so beautiful, they were unknown craftsmen. In the Song Dynasty, nobody would sign his name. Actually, there were shops here, but to say that they are for the king, for the imperial court. But in the Tang Song Dynasty, no artist would sign his name. So that's why the book is named The Unknown Craftsmen, and they produce the best teawares in all times. So, and they did this by using shapes that were useful for their time, adapted to the use of their like in this for the Song Dynasty, more shallow in the Tang, larger cups in the Ming for green tea, and small cups for oolong in the Qing Dynasty. But mostly, well, maybe Qing now the artists started to sign, but actually they were still very much unknown, and people who would make beautiful bowls and cups through repetition, by producing large quantities of such bowls, and turn these bowls almost with a free mind, without overthinking the shape. The shape actually is a given from their time and from an evolution from the past. So we can see evolution here. Here a bit something similar with also a tall tour, and on this one we can see some indentations for the petals, and to have the idea of a flower. And so these shapes did not belong to any one creator or any one artist. They were universal, and this fact that they are so universal is also an essential point of beauty. And if you try to make a shape that is too personal, too original, it's very likely that it's not going to be very useful. If nobody else made this shape before, probably it's very likely because it's not useful or not very beautiful. Now another good example. So this is a large opening. These are cups with a similar shape with a high opening. Now the difference between these cups, this one is a Ming Dynasty De Roi cup, and this is a modern Taiwanese, what I call it, a flower cup. Now also the big difference is at the bottom. We can better see the porcelain here than here, but they have kind of the similar shape. Now this one, modern one, is completely symmetrical, completely perfect on all sides. This one, when we look at it very closely, especially on the rim, there are some imperfections. It's not exactly round, and it has some hidden beauty, some hidden message. Actually, this one, on one side, there is a character Cha, T, that is inscribed. You can only see it if you put it in the light, or if you are very close. I guess from your perspective you cannot see it. And on the other side there is a character Jo, wine. So two meanings. This cup could be used for both tea or wine, or it could also mean that when you drink tea from this cup, it feels like drinking wine from it. So very another poetic way of looking at it. Okay, let's make some more tea. Some more Oriental beauty, beautiful tea. Now, sorry, I'll try to maybe later on to look at the comments you posted. So far I'm a little bit too far from the camera to see them. I'll definitely answer them. Maybe I can... 2 seconds, I'll try to see what you wrote. Okay, Heidi is asking, what music am I playing? That's and while we are waiting for the water to burn, to come to a boil, let me introduce this Le Concert Secret des Dames de Ferrare by Douce Mémoire, Douce, D-O-U-L-C-E, D-O-U-L-C-E, Mémoire, Memory, directed by Denis Raisin d'Adre. Denis Raisin is a good friend who came even to this place to have tea with me. I was very glad to be able to brew tea for this director of French Baroque group, and they are singing a concert that was a secret concert in the Count or the Princeship of Ferrare, close to Italy, or in Italy. At that time Italy did not exist. There were different towns, independent towns, and the town of Ferrare was very influential, and they used music as a kind of diplomatic tool, inviting the top rulers from neighboring countries or cities to visit them, and as a favor they would play this secret music that the musicians would only play in Ferrare. So the partitions were kept under lock, and the musicians, they had to stay always there. So this is music that one could only hear in Ferrare. Okay, I'm wrong. I took the. It's also very beautiful music, but actually, if this were not live, I would say, okay, cut. Let's do it again. So I was carried away by by seeing this CD here. Actually, it's from the same group, Douce Mémoires, a Baroque ensemble, but it's not from Ferrare. 1 second. No, the music from Ferrare would be a bit more joyful. The music we are listening to actually is le Requiem d'Anne de Bretagne. So it's twice queen from France, Anne de Bretagne. When she died, they made a requiem for her, and this is the same group, Douce Mémoires, so a Baroque ensemble, directed by a tea friend, and this is probably their most contemplative and meditative music. So even though it's a requiem, so very sad music that you play when somebody deceases, but it's really beautiful, very slow, meditative, and perfect for drinking a slow tea. So she reigned over 500 years ago, twice in France, and after she died, Brittany, the region of Brittany in the west of France, became French until now. So this really confirms that this is a live event. I did not record this, otherwise I would not have made this mistake. Okay, cheers. And again, the reason why I like to make these classes and why I really like to be involved in tea culture. For Yanagi, it's the tea is a religion of beauty, but so it's very satisfying to be able to share this kind of experiences with you through tea, and I really hope that by making these videos you can see how I'm making tea, the manner that I brew, a little bit more calm, that it's also a way to to find peace of mind and to add beauty, to make it a total experience, as I said, not only of smell and taste, but also of seeing beauty, listening to something beautiful, and having the touch of smooth objects, and thinking sometimes a bit more deeper thoughts about life, about the meaning of it all, and bringing beauty into our lives to give them more meaning. Now back to the cups. So we had this cup, which is another example. We can also touch the smoothness of the porcelain at the foot, and so material is a very important part, and that will determine what you can do with the clay that you are working with. So really, in terms of tea, the most suitable material now that we know is porcelain. It is suitable for most teas. What will change then is the glaze, the color of the glaze. Color was very important already for Louis, we saw. The shape will have an impact. Now they have a practical use. First, that it's void, then the fact that it will cool down faster or slower, and the beauty of the shapes. They are kind of a gift that we have from our ancestors who have made trial and error. And when we look at the evolution of in history different cups, we can see that these shapes have evolved, like what we saw with the ball, becoming smaller, and these are universal shapes. We don't need to invent really new ones. They just have to a bit sometimes adapted to our to the use we want to make of it. And of course the firing is important also to handle the heat, so because porcelain is fired at a very high temperature, it's also a material that will help to handle the heat, the hot tea better than glass, for instance. Smaller foot will look also a bit more elegant than a very large foot. Small foot reminds me of like a ballet dancer making pointe. It's more graceful when the dancer is dancing on her toes, doing pointe. It's adds elegance, whereas a foot that is more large, maybe like this, or large on a plate, is more about stability. So do you want to look at more stable or more elegant, but a bit more than fragile? This is also something that that will determine the size of your foot. We saw also that the chateau, so the fact that I have something below the cup, actually is evolution from the past, from the chateau. Now they used to be much higher, much taller. Once there was maybe a function when you are on the floor, it helps. You don't need to grab them so low, and also maybe in terms of spirituality, when you have something tall, it goes in the direction towards the sky, towards heaven, where something that is more flat actually is about more stability. The curves also add a sense of beauty. A nice curve is also more human than the straight line. And that's where we have also this idea of doing cups by hand. They might not. Another example, Qing Dynasty cup. It's much more rough. Even the shape is not very clear what it is, but you can really feel this personality and the fact that it was made by another person rather than by a machine. Okay, well, we could go on, and but I think I've said a lot about beauty today. The music will probably going to stop soon. I will answer your remarks very soon. Thank you for joining, and hope you have a good tea. Wish you a good night. Allez, bye bye.